Welcome, everyone. We'll give it a few moments for everyone to join the meeting.
What is going on? Why is that fuzzy?
No sabía que íbamos a tener un conflicto en el momento que programé esta reunión, pues bueno, no me puedo estar una semana después.
Mariana, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm having a bit of technical difficulties. If you can give me a minute.
I was just going to ask if we hit critical mass yet, but okay.
No, we have plenty of people. I have a really poor YouTube feed connection, so I'm just going to try to fix that.
I guess, while you're doing that, can I introduce Mariana? All right, Mariana, welcome. Mariana is going to give our message for our Spanish speakers tonight for anyone who wants to join her. Welcome, Mariana.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Mariana Rivarola y voy a ser intérprete esta noche. A todos los que quieran escuchar esta reunión en español van a tener la opción de hacerlo en una selección de idioma abajo, en una burbuja que dice Spanish. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
We're good.
All right, well, welcome everyone. Sorry for the delay, just some little technology problems. But we will go ahead and get started. I'm gonna reconvene us to open session. And as usual, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. If you have a flag, go ahead and face your flag. If not, please just look off to the right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Jeannie, in a second.
Seconded.
Thank you, Lori. Any any changes to the agenda? All right, we will go ahead and vote. Jeannie Fernandez.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
And Kelly, aye.
Kelly, can you introduce Melissa for everyone?
For the reminder, I had a note for myself to do that. And Melissa is here this evening, which I actually, oh, there she is. I couldn't see you on my screen. Melissa Norris is with us this evening. She is standing in for Karen Lamb, who is usually here to take our notes and will be our note taker for this evening. Thank you, Melissa. Now we will take input from the public regarding items not on the open session agenda. And just as a reminder, if there is an agenda item, if your item is agendized tonight, we ask that you save your comments for that item. These comments are related to items not on our open session agenda. If you would like to make a comment on this item, please raise your hand. I will give it a second so that we can get people into the room and take public comment.
It looks like we have 5 hands so far. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we have 5 speakers. Is the preference of the board to give them their full, to give the 3 minutes, or would we like to do 2 minutes? 3 minutes? 2 minutes? Julie, 2 minutes? All right. And looks like we have one more speaker, Tara Del Drago. So we will bring those 6 speakers in at Tara. Will be our last speaker on open session items, and each speaker will get 2 minutes. Thank you.
Give me 1 second. All right, our first speaker is Addison Chavone, then Jesselie Mills, Barbara Delano, Stephen Sumner, Jennifer Duckhorn, followed by Tara Del Drago. I'm going to bring you all into the room. And if you could just remember not to unmute yourself until I call on you. Addison, I'm going to skip you really quick because I have to end up promoting you to a panelist. Jesselie, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. Jesselie Mills here. First of all, I want to ask the board to address having open public meetings again. As of June 15th, the governor is going to release all restrictions, so the tiers are not going to be in effect anymore. I know there are school boards who are moving towards open meetings, and this has not been on the agenda. I did send an email and was advised it has to be on the agenda to be addressed so the board can decide when to do that next. So I'm asking that the board please do that as soon as possible. And in addition to that, I just would like to point out to the board that the renewal of the superintendent's contract, although it may have complied with some education codes, it violated a number of Brown Act violations because it wasn't properly ratified. If it was done in closed session, it wasn't properly agendized and reported out. And I really urge the board to do, a violation of the Brown Act, the remedy is to go back and redo it. Everything that was done has to be undone and redone properly. So I really urge you guys to do that so that you are complying with the law. And if you don't think this is accurate, please consult with legal counsel because it is. In addition to that, I think doing it behind closed doors and in closed session, although legal, is extremely shady and not transparent because the public does have a right to comment. And I think it's a way for the board to try and brush this under the rug and approve the contract without having any public input. And I think given the circumstances, everything going on, it's extremely unethical. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker is...
Jenny, can I jump in there? Tony, I think some of that information was not accurate. Would you like to clarify, or do you want me to clarify, given that it's related to your contract?
I think if you could clarify, that would be great.
Yes. So we did not approve any contract, nor did we take any action in closed session. And we were advised per legal counsel that we are following education codes. So there is not, per our legal counsel, any Brown Act violation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to make one comment here. Addison, I'm going to have to promote you to a panelist. It's really important, everyone, that you update your Zoom settings so that you have the newest version. So Addison, I'm promoting you to a panelist. It takes a second, and are you there?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Addison Chavone, and I'm a freshman at El Molino, and I'm a part of the volleyball team, and I'd like to get involved in the school more throughout my years in high school. I wanted to quickly bring up the topic of transportation because I feel that the topic hasn't been talked much about and given much attention. From what I've heard, it's that there'll be buses out there, but I feel that that would be, and that I know that that would be a really early time in the morning to have to get on the bus, which can affect students' work, grades, and participation in class. It also limits students from being a part of clubs and other sports and activities because they have to get home to do homework with little spare time. And a drive from Cazadero to Annalee High School is 40 minutes, and a drive from Fort Ross is an hour and 4 minutes, which is a pretty long drive. So I would appreciate that you keep in mind on making the decision of consolidation, that it is really affecting all of us, but especially these students and parents. I also wanted to remind you that there is a reason that students chose to attend El Molino or chose to attend Annalee, and I would appreciate that if that would also be respected. Lastly, I would like to ask if this would stop, if there would be a stop to referring to this as a benefit for the kids, because from what I've seen, it isn't benefiting everyone and can be an inconvenience for many. And it seems that it's only benefiting a certain group of people rather than the entire group. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Addison, and I'm putting you back as an attendee. Our next speaker is Barbara Delano.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
My name is Barbara D'Iono, and I live in Forestville, and I wanted to talk about the consolidation. I keep hearing about meetings for unity, but I think what unity? Our community is not unified. There's a lawsuit pending, and there's a recall campaign for the trustees who voted to close our school. I support these things, not out of anger or out of spite, but because I feel that El Molino serves this community and it needs to be here. I think it's short-sighted to close it. My vision of the school board at this point is of a flatbed truck speeding down the road with people hanging on and falling off the sides. This is what happens when you try to take off without everyone on board. Many people have said this is happening too fast. Well, I agree with that. If you're going to do this right, you would get stakeholders on board, do the environmental studies, the traffic study, the economic study, and the rebranding. But is all that expense and community trauma really worth it? Most of the reasons I think this is a bad idea will be there next year and the year after. It will displace students from their community school. It makes them travel further, wasting their time. When you look at El Molino District, you can see that many students are coming from far away already. It's not fair to make them come further. It's harder for parents. It's bad for climate change to make hundreds of people travel further for school. And in the April 6th letter from the board to the community, it said, we're not shutting down any campus, but if you go ahead and put money and human energy into rebranding and consolidating, if you go ahead and put our communities through this trauma, what are the chances that we ever get our school back? And if the El Molino campus isn't used as a high school, what are the chances that it won't be sold off to build something else? It would be a complete waste.
Next speaker is Steve Sumner.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, thank you for letting me speak. I'm going to just repeat what I've said 2 weeks in a row or 2 times in a row here is I really would like to see you guys meet live again. I'm glad to hear that June 15th things will lift. It makes a big difference. You know, as I've mentioned, you know, in the classroom, I see a big difference in my kids and my behavior and how I operate. There's a sort of an enculturation that happens with Zoom. Some kids are even having trouble separating from it. They like it and they've done well with it. Great. But for a school board, I think it's time to, you know, come out a little further, and it would help your transparency. There's a lot of issues. People have spoken up in the past about transparency. And, you know, honestly, for me, I wrote a letter to you guys yesterday, sent it yesterday. Part of it is the number of special meetings. And I don't think that those would have occurred so rapidly and so many within a month had you had to drive to a place and actually had a live meeting. Just an observation there. So I encourage you to go to live meetings. You know, obviously I'm from El Molino. You know, I'm not really, I don't really like the consolidation. I think it's way rushed. I agree with many others. I think that, you know, part of it is that this all happened, you know, after disaster, during COVID, on Zoom, right before new board members were sworn in. And it was done so quickly within 7 weeks. It just doesn't look good, you know, and I would really love to see it slow down. Lastly, from the ground here, you know, things are going so fast for us as teachers that we're having a hard time keeping up. with the changes. We were supposed to have dumpsters and stuff last week or week before. We're still getting them. Anyway, there's a lot of confusion here among El Molino teachers in particular. And it just feels like that's the issue. It's going so fast. It's like, a 30,000 foot view was great, but kind of missing a lot of the ground view. And then things just come up and then you got to deal with them. And that's how it's being done. That's not how to run things. So I encourage you to slow down and think it through. Come down to ground view and please read my letter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Just an FYI, the dumpsters are in the back 40. They've been there since last Wednesday. Next speaker is Jennifer Duckhorn.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted to, once again, kind of make light of mental health. Your district participated in a wonderful study. It was called Leading Through Listening, Student and Community Voices in Sonoma County. Participants were made up of 56 schools across 10 districts for a total of 30,000 respondents. 74% of those students participated in the study. On page 9, it said 70% of high school students are feeling depressed and stressed. On page 13, it says a higher proportion of 11th and 12th grade students tend to indicate prolonged sadness in the past year. Your 11th and 12th graders are ranking about 45%, so it's significantly high. On the following page, it asked, in the last 12 months, have you seriously considered attempting suicide? Due to COVID, 18% said significantly, 10% moderately. I'm not saying that consolidation isn't perhaps appropriate at a point in time. I'm just concerned about timing, and our students deserve our attention more than ever. And in a smaller class size, as some of you may remember, most of you probably don't, several years ago, probably about 20 years ago, we had a student in Forestville who decided to hang himself. Thank the good Lord, the neighbor that drove by was able to cut him down and saved him, so he is still with us. Yay, great stuff. I really hate for any of us, I don't care if you're Annalee, El Molino, or Laguna, all of our children deserve our very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next speaker is, and our last speaker is Tara Del Drago.
Hi, thank you. I would just like to reiterate once again, transparency is absolutely key and has been brought up for months now to this board. So please pay very close attention to that because that is extremely huge. This is not something that you guys get to just take lightly and not listen to the concerns that continually keep coming up and happening. It's quite actually baffling, the fact that students, parents, community, businesses continue to plead and beseech you to halt and slow down on this for the kids. It's huge. I would also like to reiterate what Jess said. I also did ask last month as well that this happen as well with live board meetings. It's absolutely important to have in-person meetings again, so you get to see our faces, our eyes, our emotions, as well as the kids. With COVID, that has completely shut everybody down, and just getting the kids back at school. I work at school. I brought this up before. Having the joy in their faces to be in person again and get to actually have that emotion is ginormous. So for you guys to get to try to make these decisions without getting that emotional impact is absolutely not okay. So think about that for the kids. Again, it is absolutely for all the kids. So also, if there is typically no action taken on an agenda item, such as, say, the superintendent renewal, if there's no action taken purposely, it is because there is something else going on behind the scenes and in closed session that you don't want the public to be able to speak on or know. So just again, that transparency is absolutely huge, and this community is paying attention. Every single town around here knows this, and please listen to us. Slow down the consolidation.
Okay, is that everyone?
Unless you want to take the last hand. You told me Terra del Drago, so.
No, we had amp time for people to raise their hands. So we'll move on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Anyone?
I move that we approve.
So moved.
Okay, Lori got this motion. Jolie, is that a second?
Sure.
Great, thank you. And any comments on the consent? Any public comment on the consent? Is that, Gillian, is your hand still up from before?
Her hand was up before, but I don't know. Gillian, if you want to speak on this item, can you lower your hand and re-raise it?
Okay. I'll take that as not this item.
Okay.
All right, we will go ahead and vote. Jeannie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
And Kelly, aye. Jeannie, can you do a report out from closed session?
I sure can. There's nothing to report from closed session.
All right, thank you. Now we will do board member reports. We will start with Lori. Lori, do you have a report tonight?
I do not.
Okay, Julie?
I just wanted to say that I went to the spring concert, the spring choir concert at Annalee. It was absolutely beautiful, and I totally enjoyed it. And it was so nice to see the kids being able to sing together. And also, Mr. Del Monte mentioned that he was trying to build funds to do a holiday light show to the kids' music, which I just thought was the most creative, wonderful idea. And I hope maybe there's businesses and things that would donate to that cause, because I think it would be such a draw for Sebastopol and just be a beautiful thing for the whole community to see. I just love the idea, and I loved the spring concert. It was fantastic, just wonderful.
Jeannie?
Yeah, I too went to the spring concert and got to listen to the choir, and then I stayed and listened to the band. It got a little chilly, but it wasn't too long, and it was worth being chilly for. The band was delightful. The choir was delightful, as Julie said, and I too loved the idea of the light show on the main building during the holiday, because it's a fun and fine opportunity to share our kids' music and to also share our wonderful school. So anyway, that's all.
Well, thank you. And it looks like I too went to the spring concert, and it was, again, nothing more to say than what was said, but I will just echo, it was delightful and awesome to see the kids and the music. And my daughter Haley just loves music and the arts so much. So I was able to take her as well, because she loves to go and see, especially the choir, because she loves to sing. So it was so great to be able to have a little time with her too, and take her to see the high school kids performing. So that was really special to just be out and about and doing something that felt a little bit sort of normal, which was really awesome. So I appreciated it. And it was just really nicely put together. So superintendent report.
You're muted, Tony.
I was trying to get my mouse over there. So good evening, everyone. I have a couple things I wanted to report on tonight. The first was related to having in-person board meetings, which has been mentioned several times tonight. I wanted to share, if I could find the right desktop. There we go. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. So ever since I got my new computer, I can't share my screen. Something about the Zoom thing. So what I'm going to tell you is that we are currently still in orange. We just checked and it did not change this week. So we're still currently in the orange tier. When you look at the blueprint for a safer economy and you look at the activity and business tiers, which is where we are told that we need to look for our regulations, and you go to the orange tier, it says that indoor gatherings are strongly discouraged, allowed with modifications. A max is 25% capacity in a setting where capacity limits exist, or 25 people, or whichever is fewer, which would mean that if we did have an indoor meeting, we would have to limit the number of people in the space to 25, because that would be the fewer. We currently right now have 58 people in the audience plus the 11 of us on the panel. So we would not be able to have very many people in the audience. If we were to progress to the yellow tier, which we're very close to, in the yellow tier, it moves to a capacity of 50% capacity or 50 people or whichever is fewer. So those are the regulations we'd be operating under. When I surveyed the other school districts in the county, most, if not all of them, are not having in-person meetings right now. They are considering the possibility of doing in-person meetings the last meeting in June, because as someone in the audience had mentioned, as of right now, we understand the governor is going to be lifting these the tier regulations after June 15th. So it's certainly something we can put on the agenda if the board chooses for our June 9th meeting to talk about the possibility of meeting in person for our very last meeting in June if the governor does indeed lift those requirements. So that was the first item. The second item is there's been some questions about summer school. Summer school is coming very quickly. Summer school starts on June 15th June 14th, and it will go until July 22nd. It goes Monday. Classes are being held Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 12, and all of those classes, the program will be operated on the El Molino campus. We currently have 174 students that are registered. And the majority of those are, we have 45 ninth graders, 44 10th graders, 80 11th graders, and only 5 12th graders at this point that have registered for summer school. There's going to be 2 programs that we're going to be running. We're going to be running an independent study program, which is the program that we have been running in past years for independent study. And we are also going to operate an in-person option for students who want to get additional help and remediation in English and math. So there will be classes for those students to come onto the campus and receive help in English and math. We'll be using a remediation software, which is called ExactPath, which does an assessment initially and then places students where they need to be based on that assessment. So we're very excited to be offering that new program this year. As you'll see when we get to the extended learning opportunity plan that we're going to be presenting under Ed Services, there are a lot of additional services we're going to be offering to our summer school program to assist with mental health issues and academic issues in our summer school program. Allie Green is the principal for our summer school, so we're very excited to have Allie leading that. The next thing I wanted to update you on is the renaming process. I talked to Joe Elwood and Mike Rowan today, and they are in process of ordering new uniforms for the using the bridge name of West County. Currently, they're looking at a gray and white combo with an insignia that somehow combines the two schools, or the colors of the two schools together. We are looking at using existing, for the football team, we're looking at using existing parts of the uniform. So we'd be using the pants, so that all we would have to purchase would be the jerseys. And we're working with with our varsity brands and the companies with varsity brands to do that. Let's see. The steering committees, as part of the Unity Committee, the steering committee has been meeting. And what our steering committee is doing right now is we are focusing on activities for the beginning of the school to bring both the staff and the students together. We're using the input from both the staff committee and the community committees to come up with ideas about what could work to bring both of those communities together at the beginning of the school year. The last thing I have is just to update you on where we are with the master schedule. The master schedule has now been completed. It was distributed to staff yesterday, along with move assignments. And the moving will begin shortly after school ends. And we'll start with summer school. I think that's it. Oh, I think there was a question about Angie. Angie Lewis was not able to attend tonight. There are final games happening, and she's attending her son's games tonight. Okay, I think that's what I have for tonight. Anything else?
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to education services. We have consideration of approval of the Extended Learning Opportunities Grant Plan. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Julie. And a second?
I'll second.
Oh, Lori, I think you came in, you just beat Jeannie. So we'll give you the second. All right, and Tony, do you want to give us the overview of that item?
Yes. So there were 2 pots of money that came from the state, and one of them is the Extended Learning Opportunities Grant Program. And that grant is part of Assembly Bill 86. It was part of the COVID-19 relief package. So it was the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant and also the in-person learning grant. So the Extended Learning Opportunities Grant is a plan that needs to come to the board for approval. We've spent a lot of time working on the LCAP, and this ELO plan is also part and parcel of what we're doing with our LCAP, which you'll hear about next week. So the stakeholder engagement in order to develop this plan came from gathering data from our critical or priority student groups, their parents doing empathy interviews to understand exactly what the needs of our students are. So there is a copy of the plan. I would share my screen, but I can't figure out how to do that. So you have a copy of the plan that is part of the board, was part of the board packet. And the first page, has plan descriptions. And then the one of the items asks for a description of our plan to provide supplemental instruction and support. And you can see here that our plan is to utilize these funds to provide several critical additional support services for our summer school program. There's an academic counselor, mental health counselor. Would purchase that remediation curriculum that I talked to you about, the exact path. And it would also provide 2 bilingual paraeducators to also be on the campus to assist students. So you can see that our summer school program will be beefed up, and we do anticipate that that program will continue to grow as it usually does between now and when summer school starts. In addition, these funds would help support our academic support classes next year. They would provide for an English language learner coaching support for our teachers. It would provide for a mental health support class, smaller class sizes for English and math. It would provide 2 additional math classes for 9th graders and 1 additional English class for 9th graders to allow those classes to be smaller. It would provide for a math support class, paraeducators to provide additional support in classes and in a learning lab that we are setting up for next school year. It would also provide for a family engagement specialist. And this was a conversation we had with our English learner stakeholders, talking about how critical it is that there be someone who can speak Spanish and be able to work with our English learner families and students in order to help them better access their education. There would be additional mental health counselors. We currently do have 2 outreach therapists and 3 additional interns that work at the school. We would be increasing that to include a 4th mental health counselor, and we would continue to provide additional hours for our own outreach therapists. There would also these funds would also provide an additional English language learner support class and additional academic counseling. This grant, our proposal with this grant is that we would increase right now we would have 4.5 counselors at the consolidated school and a half-time counselor at Laguna. Our proposal is that we increase that to provide 5 full-time counselors at the consolidated school and 1 full-time counselor, academic counselor at Laguna. And in addition, these funds would also provide professional development for our teachers to address learning loss and also mental health issues for our students. So I didn't know if the board had any clarifying questions. The plan is to use ESSER funds, the federal funds that are coming, so that to continue these services into the what am I trying to say, future years. So this is one-time funds that we would be able to provide these services for next school year, but our plan would be to use the ESSER funds, the federal funds coming in, so that we continue these services in the 22-23 school year.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from any of the board members? Okay, we'll open it up for comment from the public, and we'll give it a few moments for people to raise your hand. Just as a reminder, if you plan to make comment or feel you might want to make comment on this item, please raise your hand now, because that is how we put you into the queue for public speaking. Okay, it looks like we have 4 speakers on this item. We will take up to Jennifer Duckhorn. What is the preference of the board around timing for our speakers? 2 minutes? All right, let's go ahead and bring them in. And I see that Mariana had her hand up. Jenny, do we need to address that?
Mariana?
I swear she had her hand up, but I could also just be...
I think you're confusing the 2 M's there, because Mariana, you can't see on the attendee screen.
No, I was looking at our screen when I came
she said, sorry, my bad.
Okay, thank you. I could be going crazy and saw something that wasn't really there, but I
didn't see it. I got too many screens going. Hold on. Okay, our first speaker, Tara Del Drago. Then I'm gonna butcher this name. I'm so sorry. It's M. Michalowski, Mary Lou Saldana, and Jennifer Duckhorn, bringing you all into the room.
And just as a reminder, the comments have to pertain to the agenda item for which you're speaking to. And if it's not, I will give you a reminder. And if it's not, if you're still not speaking to the agenda item, we will have to ask you to stop your comments, because per Brown Act, we have to stick, these comments have to be related to the agenda item that we're speaking about.
And our first speaker is Tara Del Drago. Go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, thank you. I actually had a whole list of stuff to talk about on this, but thank you, Tony, for addressing that. So I would like to say I do appreciate the knowledge and would expect that you absolutely exponentially put those mental health and counselors, psychiatrists into play for our kids, all the kids right now, for the trauma that they're going with, not only with COVID, what's been happening, the isolation. Teenagers are not supposed to be secluded at home with their parents and without being able to be with their peers. So this has absolutely been excruciating for all of them. So thank you for giving them more time with the counselors, psychiatrists, and all that. I think that's going to help these students tremendously. I heard you, Tony, say about the plan description and the summer school and how that's going to come into play, but I definitely would like to hear and see more of it being followed through fully with just the schools. If this consolidation does happen, you're going to need a lot more than 4, because the traumatic experiences that's happening with all of this right now, with all these kids, it's already coming into play. I know with our school too, they have the same money coming in, they have the same bond, and I'm questioning too. Ours, I'm hearing, is through 2024, not the 22-23 school year. So I'm wondering what the funds are on that being, because I know we actually have until 2023-24 school year to use ours to help with the mental health with the kids in the K-8 and the middle school. So that was my question on that. But again, please just realize that by consolidating the school, this is traumatizing these kids even more. So please, let's not make it worse for them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And our next speaker, Mr. McCloskey or Mrs. McCloskey. I'll bring you in a minute because your Zoom isn't up to date. Next speaker is Mary Lou Saldana.
Hello, good evening. Thank you. Very much heartfelt topic to me as a school counselor in the district. This is moving in the right direction for school counselors. I'm a little concerned, though, that in terms of recruitment, given the timing, in terms of looking at recruiting school counselors, my concern is we are sort of a little behind in this process. Other school districts have been recruiting for some time now and are a little bit ahead in terms of opening up job positions for school counselors. My other addition to this is, can we at some time really look at also offering bilingual stipend for school counselors? It's so essential, so much needed. And I think that would be a plus in this process. As a bilingual school counselor, I've never had a stipend for all the translations that I've done over the years as a school counselor in the district. I think this would also help us through this recruitment process. So moving in the right direction, thank you very much needed. And this is just something for school counselors to also celebrate about. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And next speaker is Jennifer Duckhorn.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to shed some light on the money, the one-time money that you guys are getting. And actually, Dr. Harrington did a wonderful presentation yesterday. And you can find that, actually, it's go.org. But what I wanted to say is the money will be available for 3 years. Per his report, he said the Federal American Rescue Plan targets the highest need students and is meant to expand opportunities for students through a variety of in-person academic support over 3 academic years until June 30, 2023. So when planning for all of these additional one-time expenditures, I just encourage the board to look at having sustaining support for your students over that period of time, since you have some flexibility in the funds. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Give me a second to bring Michael into the room. I have to promote you to a panelist. Or Michael, sorry. I want to know that your name isn't Michael. Sorry, you have the floor now. Are you with us, Mr. or Mrs.? There you are.
Yes, this is Marian Michalowski. You didn't have my name. So here's 2 cents worth. The average in California for academic counseling is $453 to a counselor. 5 for the 3 schools that you're talking about seems excessive. I would echo the first speaker's position that you spend more money on the mental health counselors. I think our students need much more help and will need much more help with their mental health rather than their academic issues. My second point is that given all the conversation about the people who come really far ways, is there a bus for summer school? And you should consider, and this is a should, I really do think you should consider an outlying satellite for kids who need the summer school, who live really, really far away. The places mentioned, Cazadero, Jenner, blah, blah, blah. All those places, they don't need to come to El Molino for 4 hours. Why don't you make a little satellite math and English, like Jenner? Something centrally located half the distance, and you'll get a lot more kids who actually need it. That's it.
Thank you. Our last speaker is going to be Gillian Hayes. Gillian, you have the floor. Are you with us there, Gillian? Gillian, oh wait, here. I'm gonna, Tara Del Drago just raised her hand. I wonder if they're at the same spot. So Tara, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. She's having trouble getting on, so I'm just asking to let her have the opportunity to speak because she has been trying all night to be able to get on when she can, please. Thank you.
So is she just
Can you hear me?
There she is.
Oh, sorry. Here I am. Hi, everybody. Gillian Hayes. Here I am again, asking for you to please listen to the community. I can only imagine that it's probably difficult for you guys to sit here every week and have hundreds, actually, over the since the fall, hundreds of people ask you to listen to them and ask you to slow down and ask you to please, please incorporate the community, the students' needs, and the interests. Yes, I want to echo some of what you've heard earlier, that the mental health is very, very important. Also want to make a point that Tony talked about some of the funding, and she accurately said that some of this stimulus funding is to keep small classes. And you can keep smaller classes, if you keep El Molino open for another year. So that money for small classes can be used for that. Again, I'm going to keep coming back, and we're all going to keep coming back until someone listens, because we want to be involved. This is our school. This is our children. Last week, you heard from so many brave kids, and I'll tell you, my daughter was in tears after she spoke to you all. I really think you should have asked for that input. Speaking of mental health, her breaking down, you should have asked for her input in October. You should have formed these student committees ahead of even making the decision to consolidate. You should have put the kids' mental health as #1 priority in a pandemic of all times. For goodness sake, you guys, you've got to stop and realize that what you're doing is wrong and rushed, and it's hurting our children. You're not thinking about our children's mental state. You're not thinking about what's best for them. Please slow down. Please rethink. You can do it. And even though you say you can't, we all know you can. You've done a lot in 2 months. You can use 2 months to fix it. Thank you.
I'm going to bring it back to the board. Any questions or comments from the board before we go ahead and vote? Go ahead, Lori.
I'm really, really pleased with the amount of services that are going to be offered to the bilingual kids. I think it's awesome. And I'm very happy that we've got the money for summer school, and it looks like something is an ongoing process. I'm also pleased with the mental health services, and am eager to have a bilingual mental health professional in there working with the kids as well. So I hope that this grant is something that's going to fill a lot of needs and support a lot of people.
Any other comments? Well, I too, thank you, Lori, for your comments. I just want to echo the same. I was really excited to see some of the areas where we're targeting these funds, especially for our students, for whatever reason, just need some a little extra support or help in different areas. I'd love to see the target and the focus, on the family engagement specialist, such a critical role, especially for our Spanish speaking families, just to have that navigator to help them, process their way through our system that can be often just really challenging and complicated. So I appreciate where these funds are going. So thank you for your work. With that, let's go ahead and vote. So Lori?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
And Kelly? Aye. All right, so now we'll move to our next item, which is new consideration of approval of a new course of study for Floral 2, and that is Tony. Oh, first, and can I get a motion? Sorry, Tony.
I move that we approve the new course of study for Floral.
I second that.
I'll second it.
Lori, I think got it first. You're all on it tonight, jumping in. So thank you. So we'll give that one to Lori, and I'll hand it over to Tony.
Hi. So we actually have 2 different courses that are coming for the board for approval tonight. And I believe Shauna Ferdinandson is in the audience. I don't know if you need Shauna to raise her hand. I'm going to let her speak to this. Here she is. Shauna, are you there?
I just let her in.
Okay. Yeah, I see her name. There she is. Hi, Shauna. Shauna, did you want to talk about the Floral 2 class?
Yes, I do. So good to see everybody. Yes, we are excited to offer a Floral 2 class. As you can probably imagine, we've had a Floral 1 class, and now we're going to be adding to it, which will serve a couple of different needs. The first need is that the students who take Floral 1 can now do more advanced learning in Floral 2, but it also provides a completer for our CTE Floral pathway. So as we try to grow our pathways, we want our students to have a first and a second experience. So we're really happy about that. In Floral 2, one aspect that will be different than Floral 1, other than just projects and arrangements being more advanced, they'll also get into the business side of the floral industry, which I think is an exciting thing to do.
Awesome. I don't know if the board had any clarifying questions.
Lori?
I have a comment, if that's okay.
Let's, well, it's quick questions now, and then we'll first hear public comment before the board makes comment.
One question would be, do the students have an opportunity to work with any local florists as part of the process?
Yes, I know that that's where we often are getting our flowers and other supplies, but I personally do not have the information as to which florists. So, but yes.
And we will go ahead and open it up for public comment. And
doesn't look like we have any as of right now.
I will bring it back to the board.
Oh, I lied. We do have a comment.
Okay, why don't we bring, is it Michelle, Miss Kelsey? Why don't we bring her into the room?
All right, I'm gonna monitor the clock off screen. So she'll be here in a second. And why don't we have you, before you start speaking, why don't you turn off your video? We have problems hearing you a couple different times. And usually the video being off helps. You're on mute though. Let me see if I can ask. I just asked you to unmute. Did you see that?
I don't know how to turn off the video. I'm happy to do it. I don't know. There's no button.
I can turn it off for you.
That's fine. Thank you. I just have two questions. What is the anticipated class size for this class? And if you guys are all so concerned about having classes that need to be consolidated, is adding a new class that hasn't existed before really such a great idea? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Jonna or Tony, do you want to talk at all about the class size or?
Sure. I don't have the number in front of me, but we aim for approximately 31 students. So I don't have the number. I can run over and look, but we will be offering 2 sections of it.
Any comments from the board?
Looks like you have another comment from the audience.
Did you want to take that comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jennifer Duckhorn, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm actually just kind of a question. I was wondering, is it intended for, since this is an advanced class, is it going to be in Forestville or Sebastopol? That's all.
This particular class, Floral, will be on the West County campus, but we do have other classes that are in the ag program and other programs that will be on the El Molino campus.
Okay, any other comments? Thanks, Shauna. Any comments from the board? Lori, you've been really wanting to make your comment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm really excited about this. My youngest daughter, who graduated before the first floral class was offered, has in the years since graduation been working as a floral designer and is starting her own business. And I can tell you that this is a tremendous opportunity for kids out there. There are so many openings and such a need for people who are trained in floral design in all sorts of different venues. And I'm really, really excited that this is going to be part of our CTE process because it's going to fill a need and I think really enrich the students. Either they go into it as a business or they just enrich themselves. So I think tremendous opportunity. Thank you.
Jeannie?
I am just so excited to see us go this route so that we can actually expand on the CTE programs and get pathway completion, because that's one of the whole points of the CTE program is to have the completion of those programs. Plus the kids get credit for that. I mean, it's a monumental step for them. I totally agree with what Lori said. There is such a need for this in our community. I don't know why, but I personally get flowers all the time because I just love them. But there seems to be a huge need, and there isn't a lot of training for people in this field. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Jeannie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. All right, now we're going to move on to consideration of approval of new course of study, English 10 honors. And can I get a motion for that?
I so move.
Thank you, Lori. In a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeannie. All right, Shauna, are you doing this item too? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I am. My pleasure. So the English 10 honors will be replacing the English 10 accelerated classes that we've had for many years. And so the honors designation comes with a little bit of an incentive for students to engage in a pretty difficult level of study, and it gives them a bit of a grade bump to their grade point average. And one of the aspects about 10 accelerated that we have will carry on in 10 honors is that it's completely open access, and we have 3 sections of it. So there's no application process. There's nothing keeping any student out, and any teacher who teaches it, but in particular this coming year, the teacher is making a concerted effort to advertise this class, especially to students who are often underrepresented in AP and honors classes. This 10 honors class will have a variety of different types of text to read, from fiction to nonfiction, poetry to prose, a lot of rhetorical analysis, and students who take the 10 honors will be more than ready to continue with the AP literature and composition or AP language and composition. So it's much of the curriculum is the same as it was with the accelerated 10 class. So it's basically just a designation of honors that's changing.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from the board before we open it up for public comment? Anyone from, oh, go ahead, Julie. What is your question?
I was just going to ask, since it's open to all kids, which I think is absolutely fantastic, but is there any support services going to be given to those kids that want to excel in the program, but maybe don't quite have the skills to do so?
Yes. So first of all, that's a great question, because it is one thing to open up all access to honors and AP, which is something that I think we are charged to do. And it is another thing then to not add in the supports. And so, yes, there have been supports in 10A, but there will continue to be supports in the honors classes. And that will come from peer support to tutoring after school, to having extra time with the teacher, to all kinds of things like that. But that is something that we talk about in our AP meetings and things like that, that it is great to take away the gatekeepers and all of that. But what do we do to help students who might be stretching themselves a little bit to be in the class? And that's one of the big points of all of this. So that's near and dear to our hearts. And yes, we will have a lot of supports there for students. I'm glad you asked that. Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that opportunity for all the kids. I think that's excellent. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. I see we have one hand raised. Would anyone else like to make public comment on this item?
Kelly, could you give a friendly reminder about the process? People often raise their hands multiple times, even after they've spoken. So if you think you're going to have multiple questions, or say everything you got to say.
Oh, yes. So just a reminder of our process. So in lieu of using speaker cards, which we will do once we get back to our in-person meetings, we take speaker cards on every item. And if you've not put in a speaker card, then you don't get to comment on that item. So what we do instead is you raise your hand. So please raise your hand. We will pull you into the room to make your comment. Each speaker gets an opportunity to speak once per item. So you can speak multiple times on different items throughout the night, but you only get an opportunity to speak once per item when you raise your hand. And then when you're done, if your hand is still up, please remember to lower your hand because that helps Jenny know if you want to speak on the next item or not. So with that, I think Jennifer Duckhorn is the only one who has her hand up for this item. So we'll bring her into the room and allow her to make her comment.
And Jennifer, you have the floor.
Okay, sorry about that. I was a little hitting the little lower hand, upper hand, whatever. Shauna, I'm a little baffled because I'm trying to delineate between, because classes are apparently happening at both the Sebastopol location and the Forestville location. So when you said the West County campus, how are you guys delineating between the two? You know what I mean? So, and I thought that all of the advanced kind of CTE classes, many of them were happening at the Forestville location. So I'm just trying to get my bearings on what we're calling things. I'm just referring to them between Sebastopol and Forestville because for me, that's the clearest delineation. But if you can help kind of clear that up, that'd be great.
I would imagine you are not the only one who is confused about names right now. It is difficult to actually converse about the different campuses. And so the West County campus, I am picturing that being the one that is here at Annalee right now. And then the Forestville campus, El Molino, we have classes scheduled for 6th and 7th periods for next year to take place on that campus to utilize the facilities that campus offers that either we need more of or simply they have better facilities there. So some classes are here, most of the classes are here, some of the classes are going to be on the El Molino campus next year. I think I answered the question, but I'm not sure.
The classes that are being offered on the El Molino campus are ones that are going there specifically to utilize the facilities that are available there. So there are two advanced culinary classes. There are two advanced ag classes. I believe there are two woodshop classes, and there's also two dance classes.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only classes that are slated to be held on the El Molino campus next year, all during 6th and 7th period.
Okay, bring it back to the board for any comments. Lori?
I think the 10 honors designation is long overdue. And I'm really, really happy with, the way the program is being opened up to all comers and that support's being provided. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. And congratulations on moving forward with that. And 3 sections, that's really great.
Absolutely.
Any other comments from the board? Jeannie?
I just wanted to say too, like what Julie said, I'm really thrilled that anybody can take this class if they so desire. And I appreciate the fact that there is some added support for kids who might struggle with it a little bit so that they actually can succeed. I think that's really, really wonderful to give the kids the opportunity to kind of push themselves. But opening it to everybody is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to say the same. I know, I think a few years ago, I was really advocating for access to all AP courses for all students because there's a lot of research and literature around just taking and participating in an AP class, whether you get the points or not, or, how well you do in that class has a lot of, there's a lot of predictors around how well you'll do if you'll go on to advanced education, if you'll go into college, and just participating in that course, the students who have those opportunities, increase exponentially, those opportunities post high school. And so I just love to hear that we're offering it to everyone, because there is a lot of research around that, and love that we're giving supports, because of course, you want to make sure students are able to feel supported and feel successful when you're opening up an opportunity for them that might, be a little bit of a stretch or a challenge. I like what we call it in the professional world, a stretch assignment, right? It's like we want to give people stretch assignments so they can grow in and develop. So I think this is a great opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's go ahead and vote. Lori?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
And Kelly? Aye. All right, we'll go on to our next agenda item, which is, I'll bring up my agenda. Here it is. On to consideration of approval of disclosure of collective bargaining agreements with West Sonoma County Teachers Association and California School Employees Association in accordance with Assembly Bill 1200. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Jolie. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeannie. All right. And you're on. Thank you.
So because both bargaining units settled at the same time, we, in the interests of saving paper, trees, and duplicative work, prepared one collective bargaining disclosure form, which is what you have in your packet. The fiscal aspects of the agreement are really for the coming year, although they are multi-year agreements. Jeff actually prepared the AB 1200 because he was the person who was part of negotiations. I've reviewed it. Tony and I have certified that the district can meet the costs. The costs are relatively modest, but they do give all of the employees a raise, which is always appreciated. And so at this point, the ask is for the board to approve the disclosure, ratifying the agreements as a separate item under human resources.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Any clarifying questions from any of the board members? All right, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Again, we will give you the opportunity to raise your hand right now. We'll give it a minute, a few seconds here, just to give people the opportunity, if they think they want to make a public comment, to go ahead and raise their hand, and we'll bring you into the room. All right, looks like we have one person who would like to make a comment. Jenny, do you want to go ahead and bring them in?
Yes, this is Ms. McCloskey. Again, she has to come in as a panelist. And I'm going to continue when we only have one speaker to monitor the time off screen. Are you with us? Hello? I can see you're here. Let's see if, I just asked you to unmute yourself. Did you self?
Yay. Okay, now I can see I'm unmuted. I just have one typo comment. When I read this document, it talks about giving new teachers how many years in service they're going to get when they sign on. And it says 8, but then it says 9. It says 8 words, and then it says 9 number in parentheses. So you probably just should fix that one way or the other, whether it's 8 or whether it's 9. That's it.
Thank you.
Tony, did you want to address that, or would you like me to?
It is a typo. It should be 9. It should say 9 and then in parentheses 9. It used to be 8. We changed it to 9.
Okay, bringing it back to the board. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Lori?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Kelly, aye. All right, now we'll move on to our next item, which is consideration approval of the third interim budget. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeannie. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. All right,
I'll second.
I think, and Julie, I think you must have paused out for a second. So we'll give the second to Lori. Anne, do you want to go ahead?
Yes. So we submitted our second interim report with a positive certification. The Sonoma County Office of Education accepted our certification, but at the same time they said, we want to see your fiscal recovery plan and we want to see a third interim report. The normal third interim report focuses typically on the current fiscal year to ensure you have a good basis for the coming year, in this case, 21-22. In this particular case, they really wanted to look at the multi-year projection for 21-22 and be sure that our fiscal recovery plan matched up with board actions and that the whole thing came together, because they are very concerned that this district has been deficit spending for years and years and years and has not ever taken the steps to address the structural deficit. So the board has now taken those steps, and the third interim is to show that. Of course, the challenge of third interim is timing, because we put it together before we get the May revise. So it is already obsolete, but it gives SCO the information they asked for and shows how the fiscal recovery plan ties together. It is the multi-year projection in here basically identical to what's in the AB 1200, because they're prepared about a week apart.
Okay, any clarifying questions from any of the board members? Okay, any questions from the public?
I do have one.
Oh, go ahead, Lori. Thank you.
Since the third interim report is already obsolete because it had to be completed before the governor's budget was released, are we going to have to go back and revise any of those figures, or will SCO be satisfied with what we've submitted?
No, SCO will be satisfied with this because they know that before June 30th, we will be sending them our budget for 2021. So at this point, everyone has to remember that the May revision is just the governor's proposal. Yesterday and today, both the Senate and the Assembly have been coming up with their own thoughts on where money should be spent. And then tomorrow, I expect there's a regular business users group meeting at the county office, meaning on Zoom, and they will tell us what they think we should use, what assumptions we should use to build our budget. So, which we can choose to ignore them, but at our own peril. So when we come back to you next meeting on June 9th, we will have our preliminary budget for your review, including a review of our reserves projected for next year. And hopefully between now and then we get a much better look. But again, because the May revision is only a proposal, the current recommendations from FICMAT and school services are to be conservative in what numbers we choose to use.
Okay, thanks, Anne. Good question, Lori. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, we will open it up for public comment. Again, we will give it a few moments for anyone who wants to raise their hand. I see we have one hand raised. 2 hands. Let's give it a few minutes, 3 moments to let people decide if they want to make a comment. All right, let's bring Gillian and Mary into the room.
Can I get clarification on 2 or 3 minutes?
How does everyone feel? Are we okay with the full 3 minutes for both of them? Okay, go ahead.
I just got to change timers. First speaker is Gillian Hayes. Second speaker is Mary Bracken. Gillian, you have the floor.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, I'll keep my comments brief. So basically what your fiscal recovery plan here, your third interim report shows is deficit spending in 22-23. So we went through all of this trauma to consolidate and evict 566 El Molino students from the school because of supposed declining enrollment and less money from the state and the federal government. Yet in 2022, even with the consolidation, we're deficit funding spending. So I guess I'm not impressed. I was really hoping that there would be a better solution here. And I do, at the ending fund balances of 2021, 22, there's money there, guys. And I know you want to keep that extra just in case, and you want to have that buffer, but there's money, and we could keep El Molino open for another year. Today, you know that the U.S. Department of Education released new guidance, $190 billion of additional stimulus money. You know that the state and the governor is also introducing his budgets, which also project a lot of excess funds that are going to education. I just really want to appeal to you all, and frankly, I guess I can't put my video on. I really wanted you to see my face and talk to me as a human instead of just hearing my voice. The decisions that you're making in this rushed consolidation are harming our students. If there is stimulus money, which there is, to maintain smaller classrooms, you should be doing that. This is your fiscal responsibility as a board member to take the public input. I also will make mention that the governor and the federal monies that are coming in require now additional public input and interaction in the spending of that money. So I really hope that, unlike this whole consolidation process, that you do create those committees that are open to the public and allow us to be involved moving forward in how these monies are spent. Again, I hate to say it, but there's a recall in place for a reason. Stop making the wrong decisions, you guys. I'm begging you again, every meeting I get on here and beg you to hear us, to hear our kids, to hear our community. We expect more of you. There is a way to slow this down over the next year. Despite the new vice principal you hired, despite these issues, we see it in this fiscal third interim report. There is money there to make it a more meaningful process and to slow it down. So please consider the governor's new budget, consider the additional funding. I'll send you the article with the details that came out today, and fix what you've broken. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mary Bracken.
Good evening, and thank you. And I can't say it any better than the previous speaker, Gillian Hayes, but I very much appreciate how the new interim CBO put it as at your peril. So what is the consequence of balancing your budget using some of these newfound amazingly abundant revenues that are coming into the district? As Gillian pointed out, the governors may revise points toward, and I'm sorry I don't have figures in front of me, but literally thousands of dollars per ADA and a robust fiscal outlook for the next 5 years. As Linda Darling Hammond put it in a meeting that I attended on Saturday, we have a very, very positive outlook for our public schools, and El Molino deserves to have a place at the table in this robust future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, I will bring it back to the board. Any additional comments or questions from any of the board members? All right. Any additional comments that you wanted to make after the speaker comments?
I would just like to say that it is very clear that the governor's proposed budget does not apportion the money equally across districts. A lot of the proposed new money will not come to us. One of the more expensive proposals is universal TK being phased in. Well, that's for 4-year-olds. We don't have 4-year-olds. Another proposal is to greatly increase the funding of the concentration grant under the LCFF. That's the students in districts who have more than 55% of their students as English learners or free and reduced lunch students, homeless or foster youth. We don't get any of that money. We never have. And unless there is some serious demographic change, it's unlikely we ever would. So looking at averages across the state is extremely misleading in terms of trying to assess what would happen to our district. The other piece, when you look at 22-23 and 23-24, so we are in declining enrollment, as all of Sonoma County, and in fact, the entire state of California is. When you're in declining enrollment, you get the protection of getting funded on last year's ADA and enrollment. Because of the pandemic, that's a 2-year protection now. So this year we're funded on 1920. Next year we will also be funded on 1920 because we didn't actually take attendance and report it this year. When we get to the following year, 22-23, we will be catching up. And we will be catching up downward. So that is part of why we see that deficit. And that is frankly part of why we cannot spend all the money we have now. We know we're going to need it in the future. And the board, you know, you have the difficult task of balancing the needs today versus the needs of tomorrow. And that's what you have to do. So spending all this money now on something that is not what it's intended for, because it's really intended for mental health services and additional summer school and additional counseling and all the things that are in the early expanded learning opportunity plan. That's what that money is to be for. And the county office was very clear in telling us in writing that they would not accept us papering over our structural deficit with the one-time funds. So I think this interim report reflects what we're supposed to do, and that is the plan for the budget.
Any comments from, Jeannie?
I also wanted to make the comment that we have been also asked to reduce even further our projected enrollment, correct, Anne? They've asked us to add an additional 5% just as a way to prepare for the concern. They've also, it's been recommended by school services that we actually keep a higher reserve because we aren't quite certain what we're going to be faced with down the road. It pays us no good return if we spend all of our money for today and then down the road we don't have it because it's not available. And this district has made a very big habit of spending down to the 3% required when in fact we could benefit from being very careful and really monitoring our money and not spending it down so that we can in 22, 23 or 23, 24 have the money that we need to be able to balance the budget.
That's correct. One of the things that's being talked about really for the first time is the state exceeding the GAN limit and what that means for what they have to do with money. And one of the things that will happen, there is a provision in law right now that if certain circumstances are met, districts can't have more than a 10% reserve. And then there are exceptions. One of the exceptions is for basic aid districts. Another exception is for districts of fewer than 2,500 students. Well, that's us. And why is there an exception to that 10% cap? Because if you are smaller, 10% is not enough. You are too vulnerable to enrollment fluctuations, and you should really have more. And should it turn out that there is any extra one-time money from the state, because the super COLA would in essence be one-time money, I will strongly recommend to the board that some be set aside in Fund 17, the Special Reserve Fund for Economic Uncertainties. So that is the best use for one-time money, and that is what would enable us to weather future funding fluctuations. One of the big issues with school finance in California is that state revenue is highly dependent on the stock market. We have taxed the rich and we have taxed people whose income is largely based on capital gains very highly. That's great when the stock market is high, But as if inflation takes off, as some people seem to think it's going to, we are seeing some signs of it, then the stock market may crash or have even a minor correction, and that capital gains income may disappear. And then we get back to the years of poor funding for schools. If we don't have more reserves, then we are immediately back to talking about program cuts. If we have larger reserves, we can take a year to say, well, is this lasting? Is it a one-year blip? And what can we do differently? What are our other choices to keep the cuts away from the students? So that's why that will be my recommendation. If there's money.
Great, thank you. Any other comments?
Thanks, Anne, for your explanation. It really makes a difference.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Lori?
Aye.
Julie?
Did you say Jeannie
Aye.
or Julie?
Julie. Jeannie?
Okay. Aye.
Kelly? Aye. All right, let's go on to our next item, which is under consideration of approval of resolution number 23, May 2020, 2021 to establish Student Activity Special Revenue Fund 08. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeannie. And Anne?
So the Government Accounting Standards Board put out statement number 84 that was supposed to go into effect last fiscal year. Then with the pandemic and everyone working remotely and audits being very challenging, they delayed it for a year. So this year, that statement goes into effect. And what the statement basically says is that now we have to include student body accounts in our own financial statements. In order to do that, we need a place to put them. And the state of California has decided that Fund 8 is the place to put them. So during the year, at interims, you won't see Fund 8, and we won't see Fund 8 in our budget. But during unaudited actuals, after the books are closed, which come to the board in September, you will see a Fund 8 for the first time. So you must approve opening the fund so that we can do the required reporting. It doesn't mean that it's our money to spend. It's still subject to oversight by the actual student body. But the GASB's general view is that we are supposed to look at all the financial resources available to the district. And it is true that districts vary in wealth and they vary in how much money their student bodies have. So if you look at us, we might have more in our ASB than some other district of comparable size. So that's their thinking. I'm not sure how meaningful it is to most members of the public. And I don't know what we would do with any comparison information, but the rule's the rule.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from the board? Any comments from the public?
I've got Tara's hand up, so I'm going to lower it. If she wants to speak to this item, she can re-raise it because it was raised during the last item. And all right, 3 minutes okay for this one? Looks like we only have one speaker.
Yeah.
Tara, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just want to say, and your comment specifically to the student body being involved in that should involve all the students. It hasn't thus far, so thank you. Involve all the students, including the 559 students from El Molino.
Okay, bringing it back to the board. Any comments from the board? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Julie?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Okay, now we will move on to our human resources items. First item is consideration of approval of our monthly personnel report. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Jolie. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori, and Mia.
Okay, so this is our second monthly update for the month of May, and I do have some additions. We have rehired Frederick Lambert as a social science drama teacher for next school year. The next two employees are new hires for us. Melissa Rodriguez will be a school psychologist with the consortium, and Cara Vadarno will also be a school psychologist with the consortium. And then I did receive a letter of resignation from Colin Walker. He's going to finish out the school year, and at the end, he won't be with us next school year. So he's resigning to look for another position, not in his school. He's looking at private sector. So those were the only additional items that I have, Kelly.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from the board? Jeannie.
Can you tell me what Colin Walker taught or teaches?
He is a campus supervisor out at El Molino.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll open it up for the public for any questions on that item.
I am not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Any comments from the board? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Lori.
Aye.
Jeannie.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
And Kelly. Aye. All right, next item is consideration of approval of tenor agreement between West Sonoma County Union High School District and the West Sonoma County Teachers Association. Can I make an motion for this?
So move.
Thank you, Lori. In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeannie. And Mia.
Okay, so the district and the Teachers Association have come to an agreement to conclude negotiations for this year. And the WSCTA membership has reviewed the TA and approved it. The TA was included in the board packet, and I was going to bring up about the typo that was brought up earlier about it. It's in article, well, it's not article, it's number 6. Article 3.31, in the second paragraph, it refers to 8, and then in parentheses, it's 9, the number 9. It actually should be the word 9, and the parentheses is 9. That's correct. So that was just a typo in that TA, but otherwise, everything else is included.
Okay, thank you. And any clarifying questions from the board? All right, any comments from the public?
I do not have any hands raised.
Any comments from the board? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Lori.
Aye.
Jeannie.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
And Kelly. Aye. All right, next item is consideration of approval of tentative agreement between the West Sonoma County Union High School District and the California School Employees Association. And can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeannie. In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori.
I'll second.
All in, no. Mia, you need to speak first. Sorry.
Okay, so the district and CSCA have come to an agreement on a tentative agreement, and we've concluded negotiations with them also. And their membership has reviewed the TA and they have approved it. And the TA was also included in your board packet for your review.
All right, thank you. Any clarifying questions from any of the board members? Okay, any comments from the public? All right, and we'll bring it back to the board for our vote. Lori.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Jeannie.
Aye.
And Kelly. Aye. All right, let's move on to our next item, which is consideration of approval of updated management and supervisory confidential salary schedule for 21-22. Can I get a motion for that?
So move.
All right. I think Jeannie had her hand up first, but Lori, do you want to do the second?
Sure.
All right, thank you. All right, Mia.
And Tony's going to present this item.
Okay, Tony.
Mia can't.
That's right, Mia can't.
So this item is in relation to the management and supervisory confidential groups. Both of these groups are unrepresented groups in our district, so they do not have a union that backs them. Past practice in the district is that what is offered to both our classified and certificated are also offered to our management and supervisory confidential group. So I did have meetings with both of those groups and offered them the same salary increase as was offered to the teachers and the classified, or the certificated and the classified groups. That is the equivalent of 50 cents an hour or $1,000 to each step or step and column, which is what was offered to both of the other groups. So what you have in front of you for your approval is an updated management salary schedule and an updated confidential and supervisory salary schedule that reflects that increase.
Any clarifying questions from the board? Oh, and hi, Satori.
Yeah, Jeannie's here too.
Oh, hi, Jeannie. Hi. Welcome. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Okay, where are we at? We are clarifying questions from the board.
Mm-hmm.
All right, comments from the public.
None.
None. All right, I'll bring it back to the board. Any comments from the board? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Lori?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Jeannie Fernandez?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. And Jeannie and Satori, we are on human resources. So you can't vote on. I just wanted you to know that, so you didn't think I was skipping you unintentionally. So yeah, thank you. All right, let's go ahead on to our next item, which is discussion regarding recruitment for chief business official. And can I get, oh, this is just a discussion, so we don't need action.
Yeah.
You, Mia, for to give us.
I'm going
Thank you.
to be asking for some direction at the end of my presentation from the board. So as you know, with the sudden resignation from Jeff Ogston, the district started the process to recruit for his replacement. The position was posted on a nationwide website that is called EdJoin, and then we also posted it with CASBO and AXA. Both of these are California-based organizations. One, CASBO is actually specific for school business officials. Over the last 6 years, our school district has had 4 different CBOs. One of them was with us for 2 years. That was the longest they had been with us. And in between those CBOs, we had to recruit retirees to come back and help us. And like Ann Barron, who's been gracious to come back and help us, we also had Denise Calvert that has come back and helped us at a time or two. At this time, we do know that there are 5 other districts in the county that are looking for CBOs. Cotati-Roanoke Park, Old Adobe, River Montessori, Roseland, and Windsor. In my cover sheet, I did provide a salary comparison of our district to those other districts that are looking for CBOs. Although we offer really good health benefits, our medical, dental, and vision, we are on the lower end of the salary. And due to the high number of districts looking for a CBO, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to recruit a CBO within our county. So a CBO that is managing a high school district budget the size of ours, which is about $28 million plus. We also have our special ed consortium budget that needs to be managed. And we also have a parcel tax and the bond that has to be managed, which both of those require a separate audit. So traditionally, high school budgets are harder, they're more complicated due to grants and reporting requirements. So during this process, as we've been waiting for people to apply for the position that we've had posted, Tony and Ann and I met with school services to discuss the possibility of them conducting the recruitment for us. If we don't contract with them to recruit for us, they will not post our position. They won't send it out to their contacts. They won't post it on their website. They won't post it on their job board. And they are the leader in the industry. So due to their relationships that they have and their participation and support in numerous certification and training programs, I would like to talk to the board about us entering into an agreement with them to help us recruit for a CBO, because I feel like we are going to have a really difficult time finding someone. As of the date that the board agenda was posted was last Friday, we did receive 2 applications. One applicant does not have any business service experience. They've been a site administrator and are a director at a charter school. The other applicant has a degree in business and has taken some classes in the CBO, the CASBO program, but they've basically been a more of an assistant to the director of facilities or fiscal. I think it was director of fiscal services in that district. So I would like to talk to the board about entering into a contract with school services. The other area that when we talked to school services is they did say that it would be in our best interest to increase the salary by about at least 5%. So if we do enter into a contract with school services, I have to share with you that it's about $21,000 for them to do the recruitment for us. So I'd like to get your feedback on that. Also get your feedback on the salary for the CBO. Julie and I actually talked earlier today, and Julie had an idea of perhaps offering a signing bonus. Maybe we could look at increasing the salary a little bit and perhaps offering a signing bonus that, I don't know what that would really look like yet, but if we can offer a signing bonus, then perhaps they get part of that money in the beginning. And then if they're with us a year or year and a half, they get that second part. And then maybe a commitment from them that they are going to be committed and stay with our district for 5 years. Because we've had so much turnover in our business department, it's really hard on our business department. We can't even hardly find retirees to come back and help us because they're out in the community, in the other districts in our county, helping these other districts out. SCO tried to help me find a retiree to help us, and they reached out to Marin County, Lake County, and Napa County, and there were no retirees available. So we're very lucky that Ann has agreed to continue to help us out in the interim. But these are very, very difficult positions to fill. And it's not just our county that is suffering from not being able to fill them. It's across the state of California. It's an issue.
All right, any clarifying questions for Mia, and then we'll take public comment, and then we'll bring it back to the board for our discussion.
Was there a figure for the signing bonus that you had considered?
Well, I don't really have a solid amount. School services didn't really give us a dollar amount either. I know that some districts offer for their speech therapist and school psychologist a signing bonus, and that's typically somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000, depending on the school district.
All right, any other questions? Julie, you have a question? Go ahead.
Mia, did you find any comparison? What's the salary difference between us and a school district of similar size? Did you find any more on that?
Yeah, I did. So I reached out to some other districts. So for instance, Cloverdale, their ADA is $13.25. They're a little bit lower than us. Their starting salary is $106,932, and they top out at $150,549. There's a school district. They're north of Sacramento. It's Live Oak Unified. They are 16. Their ADA is $16.20. They start at $106,404, and they top out at $128,747. And
I think it's important to remember those are both areas where housing is a little more affordable than Sonoma County.
Right.
It's a factor.
Right, exactly. And then most of the other districts, they're either elementary. So for instance, Wright, which is in our county, their ADA is $13.80. They start at $99 and they top out at $170. So, and all the other districts that was able to find, their ADA ranges anywhere from, 21 up to 32. So not anybody any closer to our ADA right now. And we're looking at 1746 as our current ADA.
All right. You have a follow-up question, Julie? Yep.
Yeah, so our starting salary is $124,997, right?
Right, correct.
It tops out at 143. Okay.
Right.
So we're definitely higher than some of those smaller districts, but just not up with Cotati, Roanoke Park, and what's Santa Rosa? You didn't give us Santa Rosa's.
I didn't look at Santa Rosa because their ADA is so much higher, and they have levels of people that work in their business department. They have an assistant superintendent of business services, and then they have a director of fiscal services. So it's really kind of hard to compare us to Santa Rosa City Schools.
If I can share, as Cotati Roanoke Park is my former district and my replacement is the person who's retiring. I don't believe their position has been posted for at least 4 months now. And the outgoing CBO told me he doesn't think they'll be able to hire anyone at that pay. One of the things about our district is it would be best, if possible, to not get a rookie. It would be, our budget is complicated enough, and there is enough going on, and especially with the extra reporting with all the new variations of COVID money, that for a beginner, we're hard. I mean, it's hard to get up to speed here. There's a lot to learn. In order to be attractive to someone who's, say, a business manager in a smaller district, it has to be enough more money for them to be motivated to take on the extra work. And frankly, the negative publicity we've had does not make us a more attractive place to work. So the last few contentious years are going to make it a little more challenging than it would otherwise be.
Mm-hmm. I also think that it would be, our district really needs to have somebody that is a seasoned CBO, because in some of the cases where we've had these employees that have been with us over the last 6 years, we have spent money training them and then they leave. And we're going to spend a lot more than $21,000 to train a new employee if they're, brand new coming out of a CBO program. Then we are entering into a contract with school services to help us do this recruitment, because they have the contacts, they have the agencies that they can reach out to. And if our salary is attractive, along with the health benefits, I think they will be able to recruit the right person for us that has the experience that we need.
And to be clear, even though the fee sounds high, in the private sector, a typical executive search fee is 30% of first year's compensation. which would be substantially more than $21,000. So I think, you know, they have their niche and they're not trying to get rich off school districts, but they do because they teach in the FICMAT class and they teach in the USC class, and you name the professional development program, they're there and they know the people. And there really is no one else who can duplicate what they offer. And there's still no guarantee. I mean, but they give us the best chance at finding a quality candidate who will be with us into the future.
And they did say it could take up to 6 months to find the right person.
Oh my God.
Okay, Jeannie, do you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Yeah, my clarifying question is, when you were reading off those numbers, Mia, did I hear you say that the top end of some of those were 150s, 170s, and they start at 106? That's a really big gap.
Right. And I don't know how, on some of these, Jeannie, I don't know how many steps they have. Some of them, we only go up to step 8. So some of these I do know that some of these go up to, you know, step 10 or 12. I don't know specifically all of them though.
Right. Okay, we'll let the public speak and then we can come back and make comments.
Yeah, no comments. Do you have another question, Julie?
No, I have a comment, so I'll wait.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take public comments. So we'll give a second for people to raise their hand if they would like to speak on this item. Giving it a moment. It looks like we have 2 people or 3 people. Okay, we have 3 people. Do we want to give them their full time? Okay, let's go ahead and bring them in and we can give them the 3 minutes.
First speaker, Tara Del Drago, then Diane Landry and Jennifer Duckhorn. Tara, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. I just would like to say that with our school, SCO has been amazing helping us find money that we had been put on notice from them in the past for all of our interim reports. So what are we going to do to continue to look into that? I know this has come up from the public before. I have asked Jeff several times, and it was actually, I didn't know that interesting fact about the number of CBOs in that small time frame, with the longest being there for 2 years. That has helped contribute under possibly the guidance of a superintendent leading them down the wrong road. So in the hastiness of this, again, thinking about that budget-wise, that is your job to think about that and do that. I don't think, and thank you for your numbers and all your words on that, but I disagree with a lot of your words. Again, working at the school, that finding the money that is now, our school is in a plethora of money and we are not in a deficit. So COVID has nothing to do with that part of the budget. The COVID funds, yes, it is allocated for certain things. Yes, it is going there, but a big portion of that, and it has been said, it has been rebutted that it doesn't get to be used for the students in the school. But however, yes, it does. It is to put the mental welfare. This has to do with the budget, Kelly. The budgeted amount.
This isn't about the budget. This is about the CBO position. This is actually not about the budget.
Okay, so the CBO has messed up the last 4 years, the 4 CBOs in 4 years. So I'm sorry that this needs to be thought about candidly and brought in, because that money is affecting our students. I'm sorry. That needs to be brought into consideration. So thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker is Diane Landry.
Good evening. I have some questions that perhaps you could answer afterwards, Mia. What is school services track record for finding CBOs? Are they really good at this? are they mediocre at this? It seems like the candidate pool isn't very, very good, isn't very large. Is the cost of $21,000, is that the cost whether they find somebody or not? I've never hired a CBO being on a board this way, although have gotten some superintendents through someone outside the district helping. So there can be a lot of value in it. And my comment is, comparatively speaking, our district seems rather low for the top salary. So yes, some tweaking of the salary might bring somebody in. And Julie, that's a great idea about a signing bonus to get somebody to come in. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Last speaker is Jennifer Duckhorn.
Thanks. One thing I was going to say is I think the salary, schedule is fairly competitive with the 5 other districts. Could you make it higher? I suppose, but at what cost when things are a little squirrely? But one thing that SCO was looking at a couple years ago, and Anne may recall this, was kind of giving their services supporting a district who's transitioning CBOs, and not just somebody who's retired, but somebody who's on staff right now. So I know there's been quite a few new hires in the business department, and perhaps Mrs. Downey is working on something like that. So maybe that's a good conversation for Anne to have tomorrow. I see you shaking your head, Anne. No?
We've already had it. We've already had the conversation with them. They have no one to help us. And part of it is the people that they're having help districts are typically the smaller districts who can have someone do it part-time, who spends the rest of their time as the advisor to a different district because they have to be independent. But they have not, they did look at that several years ago and it didn't work out because there's not enough people, and having someone basically on standby for a need doesn't really work staffing wise. It's like, oh, well, right now 3 districts need them and next month maybe no one needs them. So it isn't really a structure. When Jeff resigned and Mia reached out to SCO, they said, can't Anne help you? So that's why, I never really left, and here I am again.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you're a returning player. Very good. And one thing I was going to say too, which would be really interesting to see, Mia, is if you did the salary schedule and you just went up to 8 steps, just because Roseland appears to be such an anomaly in that salary schedule. Anyway, so just a couple of cents there. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Jeannie.
Well, one of the things we have to be careful of is that we certainly do not want to bring in a CBO and with a salary schedule that is greater than what our superintendent makes. So we do need to be careful of that because that just doesn't seem right. The other thing is I would like to recommend that we consider bringing up the bottom end a bit to make it a bit more competitive, and the top end needs to come up a lot more. My opinion.
Any other comments? Jolie.
I'm just having a hard time rectifying, increasing a salary for a CBO and not taking into consideration that we went through this with our teachers and the same consideration wasn't given. Also, I think it would be a great idea to start encouraging and possibly starting a program to encourage our own teachers to become or offer them opportunity to become a CBO and the district pay for it. That way we would get somebody that is dedicated to the district and lives in the community. So we might consider doing something like that as well. I am in favor of a signing bonus because we would do the same thing if we needed a math teacher, an English teacher, or a science teacher. So I think that's reasonable to do something like that. However, I don't think the problem is the salary.
Lori, do you have any comments?
I'm just questioning offering a salary bonus to teachers when they're being hired. I don't ever remember that being a case, but anyway, I would like, if there were a salary bonus, I like the idea of there being part of it withheld until the person has stayed for, X number of either like a year or 2 years, because otherwise it's like you take it and run. I am concerned about hiring somebody who doesn't have the experience to deal with the complexity of our budget. And I know that means that we're going to have to hire somebody who's essentially leaving a job that's probably, as well paid as what we would be offering at the beginning. And we probably need to increase the offering. I also do have a question about school services and with the $21,000, and I know that they've got the connections, but is there any, I won't say you can't really guarantee, but is there a significant trust that they're going to be able to find somebody who could fit the bill for us?
When we had that conversation, she seemed fairly confident that, they would be able to find somebody, but of course there wasn't 100% guarantee. I don't know what their track record is, so I could look into that and bring that back to the board. So I will definitely look into that. I know that even if they charge us the $21,000, we're still going to have to pay that regardless if they find somebody for us or not. But she did say it could take up to 6 months to find the right person. So,
and she did also say that if we didn't find anyone the first go round, the only additional cost would be additional advertising. Mm-hmm. The $21,000 fee they would keep working because they don't like there being unfilled CBO jobs out there. They view it as their job to help the districts of California have well-run business offices. That's really part of their mission.
Okay, any other comments?
Julie does, Kelly.
Julie?
I just wanted to clarify with Lori, I didn't mean to say that we had offered those to teachers in the past, but other districts have. It's kind of been a thing that they're trending on, if you can't find a math teacher or a science teacher, other districts have offered signing bonuses. And that's kind of where I came up with the idea.
Kelly?
Jeannie?
I actually believe that back, maybe it's been 10 or 15 years ago, that we did offer some signing bonuses, I believe in math, because we were having a real struggle in that arena. I would, Julie, could I get you to clarify your comment? I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying with regards to the salary schedule for the teachers versus the CBO, because we actually did just adjust the salary schedule for the teachers. So can you clarify for me?
Well, just when we were talking about that and the dispute on what is the state standards for teachers and how our teachers are below state standards, and the discussion and dispute around that, in relation to the CBO, it seems like we're having the same discussion, but there's a different take on it. And I just am concerned about that.
I see. I wanted to also say I do appreciate your thought with regards to a signing bonus. I think that's a really great idea. So I would definitely like to make that recommendation as well, that we consider that. I don't certainly know, an amount, and maybe that has to get looked into further. But I know Mia kind of needs a little direction from us.
Yeah, and I think just my comments. So I like the idea of a signing bonus, and to Lori's point, I might almost call it a signing and a retention bonus, because I think we have two issues. One is attracting someone here, and one is keeping someone here. So that's one of the things that I would like to suggest, is that we maybe look at both of those things. So it's kind of like, yes, you get some upfront and some when you're here, but I like the idea of calling it a retention bonus, because that's really what we're trying to do is retain the person. Having been through the CBO challenges that we've had in the district, I mean, Mia, this is not the first time I'm hearing that this is a really difficult position to recruit for. I know there was a comment made about, I think it might have been you, Jolie, to say, some of our teachers like classes, and I know SCO at one point, this might have been like 4 or 5 years ago, offered a CBO training and they paid for it for everyone. And that was kind of the concept or idea, because this has just been, I mean, really for the last decade, a really difficult position to recruit for. So SCO has already done some of that work, and it's still, unfortunately, I don't think the benefit that they thought would be there by training all these people happened. I mean, it's a difficult position, to be in, and it's, especially with our budget and the challenges we've had in our district, has been really challenging. So I think I agree. I mean, I feel like we need to get someone who has some experience, who can be here for a while. I agree with the concern. I think we do have to be careful on the top side, because we don't want to end up having a CBO that might be salary-wise higher on the schedule than our superintendent, because that seems a little bit imbalanced. So I wouldn't want to see that happen. But I do think, I don't know a recommendation around the amount for the signing and the retention bonus, but I wonder if because we're pretty aligned with some of the other districts, I mean, give or take a few thousand maybe on each end, that we maybe could add, and maybe focusing more on that signing bonus and the retention bonus to make us more competitive, and see how that works. Like, do we actually attract someone? I'm just concerned. This has just been a really difficult position for us to recruit for, and I don't see it being easy. And hearing that from Ann, that Runner Park has been recruiting for their position already for 4 months, doesn't make me feel really good about our prospects here.
So Kelly, if the board did consider the 5% that school services is recommending, it would start at 127,572, and the top, which is for us, it's step 8, would be 151,699.
Okay.
Kelly?
Jeannie?
That sounds really reasonable, actually. Going back to what Ann said and my comments about the balancing the salaries, is that if Cotati Rohnert Park is having a hard time at 123,000 at their bottom end and 147 at their top end, us being at 120 and 143, they're going to hire somebody before we will, because somebody's going to get paid more. That's just kind of pure, plain and simple in my understanding. One of the things that I don't think was mentioned that I think is important to mention is that whoever is our CBO has to also manage the special education budget for the consortium, which is another huge, in some cases, there are people who just are hired to just do that. And we're asking our person to manage all of these budgets, grants, and then also a special education budget. So I think I wanted to put that out there because I didn't hear it mentioned, and I think that's a a huge piece to the puzzle.
I did mention that in my report.
Did you? Okay.
Along with the parcel tax and the bond that they have to manage. And the other piece of that is that those both require a separate audit for both of those items.
And I currently oversee the bond program.
So what is Mia needs direction. It sounds like we're all in favor of giving some type of signing bonus and some type of retention bonus. Is everyone feeling like thumbs up on that piece? That direction seems pretty clear. Where are people at as far as the salary range?
Well, I think one of the other questions, Kelly, is whether or not we want to consider hiring school and college legal services.
I would like to take them separately. I would come to that one, but because Mia gets direction on each of them. So where are people feeling around the salary? Could we go with 5% to at least bump us up a little bit higher than Mernert Park so that we have maybe a little bit of more of a competitive edge?
I have a hard time. Roanoke Park is so much bigger and, they have bonds and things too. I just think that it's a way bigger job.
Yeah, but the problem is, Julie, is we're all recruiting for essentially the same position. So they're going to look at all the jobs we have open for our county because they're going to have to move from outside. Most likely, this person is going to be coming from outside of our county. So if you're looking at jobs, you're going to be looking at the jobs and the salary. It's at this point, the size of the district. Yes, it matters. And I think our district, because of some of the financial challenges we've had, even though we're smaller, we almost are harder because we have a lot. This position has really been on the front lines of all of these challenges. So.
And Kelly, and Anne can speak to this directly because she was the CBO in Cotati-Roanoke Park. They have multiple people that work in that department to support the CBO. We don't have that. We have an accountant. Right. That's all we have in our business department is our CBO and our accountant. So, Anne, I don't know how many people work in the business department at Cotati-Roanoke Park.
Some of that is because it is a bigger district. So, for example, with payroll for more people for 2.5 times the number of people, because it's 2.5 times the number of students roughly. But the biggest thing is that they have the CBO and then they have a director of business. So the director takes care of a lot of the day-to-day stuff. Since I've been back in this job, I've been reminded how much day-to-day stuff there is. Reviewing timesheets, coming up with budget codes for the new money, because just because they gave us money doesn't mean we have codes instantly, and just a lot of answering of questions and all that. And we have a lot of grants. We probably have almost as many grants as Cotati-Roanoke Park. It's just the dollar amount might be a little bit smaller. And then they have a supervisor who supervises the payroll and accounts payable person as well. So they have a lot more people. Now, some of that leads to inefficiency. There can be a little duplication, but in general, it does mean it's not all on one person. And that is part of the stress of the job too, is that look around, I have to do it. There isn't anyone else.
Any additional thoughts on the salary range?
I'm just still feeling that given our situation and how we've made decisions about money and the difficulties we're having in the district, 5% increase with our benefit package and everything seems a little high to me.
Is there any indication of what the effect would be on our overall budget?
For one position, it's not much. I mean, it's not going to pay the one position times 30% or whatever, because they're classified.
Okay.
So, yeah, so a $5,000 increase is really a $7,000 increase or something.
Jeannie, you were going to make a comment.
I was going to make a comment that if we can't all agree on a 5%, what about a 4% or a 3%?
I did run a 3% what it would cost. So if it's a 3%, the step 1 would be 125, 142. And step 8 would be 148, 809.
I think that still might be reasonable, and it's still a little higher than Cotati Roanoke Park.
But just remember,
that is more reasonable, especially if we have to.
So. Wait, both. Okay, Ann, you go first, then Julie. Go ahead, Ann.
What I'm hearing from Cotati Roanoke Park is that they're not attracting someone at their current posted salary. So if they increase, then we'll be back around. The right person for Cotati Roanoke Park is not necessarily the right person for us, because they are bigger and they do have staff. And certainly at least some of the CBO issues we've had have been with people from bigger districts who only know part of the job. Mm-hmm. It really is hard to find someone, because in this district, you have to have done everything. But a year ago, when I first came here, I reached out to the people I knew in our feeder districts, because that was my path. I was at Twin Hills, and then I went to Cotati Roanoke Park. And the feedback I got from the ones I know the best was it's not enough more money for the trouble of having to learn a new district. And that was just after the strike, and it was like, the job is too hard for not enough more money.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do know too that school services, they did recommend a minimum of 5%. So I do want to make sure that you all know that as well.
Julie, you were going to make a comment.
Is Cotati Roanoke Park using school services to find a CBO?
Yes.
They are?
Yes. That's what gave me the idea, because I know this district never has. And during my time there, Cotati Roanoke Park did not.
Windsor,
superintendents, did they use a search firm?
Sorry, Ann.
And what is Cotati Roanoke Park? How does their benefit package compare?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
How does Cotati Roanoke Park's benefit package compare to ours?
It's almost as good as ours, just slightly not as good. I think it varies by bargaining unit, but the employees pay just a little bit. They pay 15%, is my recollection.
Yeah, our employees do the same for employee plus one or employee plus family. And if it's an employee only, they don't contribute towards their medical.
And Cotati Roanoke Park employee only also pays something. At least they did at the time I left. Now, I can't say I've studied it this year, but I don't think the structure has changed.
So that would be the same as ours.
Well, what's my thought about 3%? What are people thinking about that? Might be a good place to start.
Would we have the opportunity to include?
Yeah, with the sign is
like if look, 3%.
Bring it back. I mean, we could definitely always bring it back, like recruit for a month, see if we get any takers, and then if not, I mean, maybe we just bring this back on our board meeting the end of June to see where we're at. Given a month,
are we going to include?
So how are people?
Are we going to include the signing bonus?
I think it makes sense. I mean, I think we need to figure out some way to make it more enticing and make ourselves feel more competitive than the other 5 districts.
One thing to kind of keep in mind, I think, based on what Ann's been telling us about the complexity of the job, is we need to hire somebody who's more experienced than Cotati Roanoke Park. that somebody who can essentially handle the entire shop, rather than having a network of people to work with and to, like balance the workload. We're asking somebody to step in and carry the entire, financial system for us. And I think that the signing a retention bonus, start with 3% and bring it back in a month, see what the feedback has been. And then if we have to revisit, an increase on the salary, then take a look at it at the end of June.
What are people thinking about the signing bonus? Maybe 2,500 when they are hired and 2,500 if they stay.
I mean, I would actually ask Mia, could you ask college services and see if they would have a recommendation? Like, I just don't even know what people would feel like. Is 2,500 good? Is it bad? I have no idea.
Yeah, when I emailed her earlier, school services, she really didn't have a dollar amount, but she was going to do a little bit of research. I just put the $4,000 out there because I know that's $4,000 to $5,000 is what I've seen for in the past with other districts for school psychologists and speech therapists. But that might need to be a little bit more. I don't know, but I can do some research on it. It was just something that Julie and I talked about earlier today, and I didn't have an opportunity to really look into it deeper.
I just want to make it clear we're talking about two different organizations. We're talking about School Services of California, which is a fiscal organization, not School and College Legal Services, which is the law firm housed at SCO.
I might have just automatically said that. I knew we were talking about two different things, but it's getting late. And if I said that, it's just because that's what we always say. So sorry.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
I just want to be sure that our audience is also clear.
Sorry. It just rolls off the tongue like that. And then, so it sounds like we're landing on 3,000, some type of signing and retention bonus. How do people feel about using them for the recruitment?
You're saying 3% increase though, right, Kelly? Not 3,000. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. It's getting late. I'm
That's
like,
okay.
3%. Yes.
I'm in favor of hiring school services. I don't think we have a choice.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we need to do a good recruitment.
I agree.
So it's 3%, some sort of signing bonus, and we'll use school and college legal services.
And then we'll reevaluate at the end of June at our second board meeting in June.
I think give it a month. I feel like the first one would be too soon. Like, let's get it posted. If you can work with them as soon as possible to get it posted as soon as possible, because we'll have our board meeting the end of June and then we don't meet in July. So the next time we would have to discuss it would be August. So I feel like we should have it at that last meeting in June.
Okay. I'll move forward with that.
And if anybody knows anybody that could do this job or might be interested, please let them know.
And we need you. Thank you for everything you've done.
Yes, thank you, Anne.
Retirement.
I want to clone her.
Thank you. Thank you all for your kind words. But I retired for a reason. I'm getting too old for this stuff.
All right. Well,
I hear you. I know what you mean.
Thank you. That concludes our action items, our discussion items for this evening. We do have a long list of future agenda items. Are there any additional items that any board members would like us to consider for our next agendas? Okay, seeing none, we will move to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.